welcome back. We are going to make our marinade for our steak kebabs for dinner tonight. And I have all the ingredients here and my Ninja blender, which is gonna make everything a lot easier. You can chop all this up and mix it up yourself and just whisk it together, but I'm kind of cheating, I guess, by throwing it all into the blender. This thing is very powerful. It'll chop things up very quickly. So, saving myself some time. And this is gonna be a chimichurri sauce, and we're gonna marinate the steak with it, and then we're also gonna drizzle it over our grilled vegetables for dinner. It's gonna be a summer meal, healthy, good for you, and one of my favorites, I have to say. Okay, so first we're gonna start with the lime juice and red wine vinegar. There's a 1/4 cup of each. We're gonna go ahead and put those in. I like to start with a little liquid so things don't stick so much at the bottom. It calls for, I usually use a 1/4 cup of minced up cilantro, but because I'm cheating, I have about a handful of cilantro and a handful of flat leaf parsley. Now, if you don't have fresh herbs, which I don't always, then you just want to use some dried herbs, and it's probably like a tablespoon to a 1/4 cup. They're pretty concentrated, so you don't want to get too carried away. So we're going to use a little bit of red onion. You can also use scallions, but this is what I had. I had these little ends of the red pepper left over, so I'm going to put those in there. We have 2 cloves of garlic. Going to throw those in. And about a tablespoon of onion powder. Again, fancy measuring. So let's put that in there. And we're gonna put in a couple cranks of black pepper. I'd say 4 or 5. Yeah, let's do 6. You never have too much seasoning, in my opinion. So we're gonna set that over there out of the way. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pulse this up. I'm gonna bring it a little closer to me so I don't make a big mess. Nobody wants that. Especially not me, because I have to clean it up. I don't have anybody behind me making everything all nice and pretty. So it's all up to me. So let's go ahead and pulse this. All right, and then it calls for 1.5 cups of olive oil. Well, this will take a little bit of time. I should have had to pour this out ahead of time. While I'm doing this, I'm gonna tell you a little story about my hat. I talked about it at the beginning and said that, it says the wine takes the bitch right out of you. Well, I got this hat when we were in Napa last spring, maybe June. And what is so special about this hat is that was the first trip we were able to take after Chris was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. So we weren't really sure what travel was gonna look like for us, and I had already had a trip planned out to California for something else. And so he decided that he wanted to join me. So I met him up in San Francisco, and we went to a bunch of wineries, and he couldn't really drink a lot, but we still just had fun walking around. The scenery is beautiful. We found some really cute little restaurants that, we could have low sodium options at. So whenever I wear this hat, it makes me think of Napa. It makes me think of how, so concerned we were that we weren't gonna be able to do all the things that we love to do, but we can still do them. So we're gonna start with the first cup and get that going. Again, I don't think my lid is on all the way. The nice thing about these, they have a safety on them. You guys can see how those fresh herbs are starting to get really chopped up in there. They'll be nice and flavorful. And then also it's emulsifying. I don't know if you can tell that the olive oil is blending in with all the other juices and the white wine vinegar, and it makes it a little creamier looking. All right, let's give that a little taste. Oh my gosh, so good. It's a little tart from the lime and the red wine vinegar, but it also has that real fresh, vibrant flavor from the fresh herbs and just really makes for a nice marinade. So I'm gonna show you guys also, I have the steak already cut up. These were 2 pretty big size strip steaks. I would say it's probably about a pound of steak right there. And I cut these up when they were still a little bit frozen because it just makes it a lot easier actually. So I need to get, I always use like a gallon Ziploc bag to put my meat in. For marinating, it's just a lot easier to clean up and just throw it in the fridge. I usually set it on a plate just so if anything leaks out for whatever reason, one, you don't have a big mess all over your fridge, but also you don't get, you know, cross-contamination. You know, I talk about that a lot. I'm a little probably overzealous, but I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm not making anybody sick that's eating my food. And when we're not quarantined, I actually feed a lot of people. So it's something that I take very seriously and probably talk about it a lot. So we're going to take this marinade and I'm probably going to take maybe like 3/4 of a cup, I'd say. You can use more or less depending on, ooh, I must have made a mess, how much steak you have. But I want to make sure that I have some left to pour over our veggies because it's just going to bring it all together. So we're going to go ahead and kind of massage that around. Make sure your steak's feeling all loved in there. Get the chimichurri sauce all over it. And then we're going to zip it up and put it in the fridge until dinner time. So you could marinate it overnight if you wanted. I have a couple more hours until dinner, so it'll probably marinate for about 2 hours, 2 to 3. And I will tell you that at the very end, maybe like 30 minutes before I'm gonna grill it, I'm gonna take it out on the counter and let some of that chill come off of it because 1, the olive oil is gonna coagulate a little bit, and 2, you just want your meat to be more at room temperature when you cook it. Helps it so it doesn't seize up and it makes for a tender steak. So the rest of this I'm gonna put into a jar so we can use it either, well, we're gonna use it on our vegetables tonight, but you can also save it in the fridge and use it for marinade for something else. You can use it on chicken, shrimp would be great, and it's just a super nice thing to have around. So remember, if you like these recipes or you like following me, make sure that you like me, share, follow, subscribe to Christy Cooks For Life, and I would really appreciate it. So we're gonna go on to our next thing. I think the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to make quick pickles that have no salt in them, and it's an easy brine that you can make with cucumber pickles, and that way Chris can have pickles without worrying about the sodium.